But ultimately, the way you break down a script is kind of the same. What does your character want in this scene? What effect is he trying to have on the person that he's talking to when he says that line? And what is his overall kind of objective? And if you have...
Hey everyone, I hope you're doing well. Personally, I'm having a great time because I finally get the chance to take a look at the actor who made me want to talk positively about certain actors on this channel instead of just roasting them all day. Daniel Radcliffe's career is defined by active resistance to expectation. He spent a decade as Harry Potter, a role that could have consumed his entire professional identity given it's such an iconic role. And with the franchise's immense success, he'd never have to act or be seen in the public eye again. But he chose to keep going and proceeded to systematically dismantle any possibility of being typecast. What's remarkable isn't just that he's done different things. It's that he's done them with genuine commitment to the material, never treating genre hopping as escape so much as psychological exploration. He's played a grief-stricken widower in a haunted house, a poet discovering his voice, a man growing horns as supernatural punishment, a romantic lead in an indie comedy, a mad scientist's assistant, a decomposing corpse dispensing wisdom, an undercover federal agent infiltrating extremism, a man lost in the Amazon rainforest, a polka accordion player. I think you get the point. The consistency across these disparate roles is Radcliffe's willingness to find the specific emotional truth within whatever character he's inhabiting, to treat each role as genuine interrogation of the material. That kind of restless curiosity is what separates genuine range from the illusion of versatility. And I decided the best way to spend my National Gryffindor Day, yes, that's an actual holiday, is by breaking down just a few of the marvelous performances he's given us over the years. So put on your sorting hat that your mom bought you 15 years ago because you wouldn't stop crying in the toy aisle at Walmart, and let's get started.
Didn't you ever wonder where your mum and dad learned it all?
Learn what?
You're a wizard, Harry.
I'm a what?
A wizard. And a thumping good one, I'd wager, once you trade up a little.
No, you've made a mistake. I mean, I can't be a wizard. I mean, I'm just Harry.
The Harry Potter series spans 8 films across a decade, following Harry from age 11 through 17 as he discovers his magical heritage, attends Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry, and gradually confronts the reality that a dark wizard named Voldemort has returned to power. The early films establish Harry as an orphaned child discovering a world of wonder and belonging. The middle films shift toward adolescent complexity, romantic entanglement, division amongst the titular characters, and the burden of being famous for something he didn't choose. There's also the impending doom of Voldemort's reascension to power. The final films transform Harry into a soldier in an actual war, forced to sacrifice friends, accept loss, and ultimately confront his own mortality, finally growing into the one who would fulfill the prophecy of bringing down the Dark Lord once and for all. The narrative arc tracks a child's progressive disillusionment as the magical world reveals itself to be just as violent and unjust as the non-magical one. By the final film, Harry is a young man who's lost nearly everyone he cares about and is preparing to save the world or die trying. Daniel Radcliffe's performance is a masterclass in long-form character development, precisely because it's somewhat constrained by the source material and still managed to evolve significantly. In the early films, Radcliffe plays Harry as a child experiencing revelation. He's reactive, curious, often bewildered by the scale of what he's discovering. His performance is appropriately small, registering wonder through wide eyes and understated reactions. Radcliffe understands that a child confronting magic for the first time wouldn't perform amazement. He'd simply be amazed. What's notable is how Radcliffe allows Harry to age throughout the series without losing the core of the character. By the third film, Prisoner of Azkaban, Harry is beginning to understand that the wizarding world isn't purely good, so he subtly darkens the performance. Harry becomes more guarded, more aware of danger. The wonder is still present, but it's being complicated by knowledge. By the fourth film, Goblet of Fire, when Harry is forced into the Triwizard Tournament against his will, he plays a character experiencing genuine resentment. Harry's isolation, being blamed for entering a tournament he didn't enter, is communicated through withdrawn physicality and a particular kind of wounded anger. In Order of the Phoenix, Harry is consumed by rage and helplessness. Radcliffe plays this as teenage fury. Explosive, unfocused, directed at authority figures and friends alike. Teenage Fury kind of sounds like a Disney rock band from the early 2000s, Maybe I'm just thinking about Lemonade Mouth. The performance captures someone dealing with trauma and being gaslit about its reality. When Harry finally explodes at Dumbledore, when he allows his grief and anger to surface, demonstrating raw intensity, this is no longer a child. This is someone broken by circumstance. By the final films, Radcliffe has completely recalibrated Harry once more. Half-Blood Prince sees Harry dealing with romantic entanglement and the growing awareness that Dumbledore is dying. Radcliffe plays a character becoming aware of his own helplessness. He's no longer fighting external threats. He's confronting the reality that the people he loves will die regardless of his efforts. The performance becomes a lot more introspective. There's a particular kind of resignation in how Radcliffe carries Harry during these scenes. The final two films require Radcliffe to play a character who has been stripped of nearly everything he holds dear. Harry is on the run, homeless, constantly hungry, and essentially tortured by the presence of a Horcrux in his possession. He plays this deterioration with remarkable specificity. Harry's movements become more careful. His voice becomes hoarse from disuse. His emotional capacity becomes increasingly limited. When Harry walks to his own death, Radcliffe plays the scene with a kind of accepting peace. This is the culmination of everything Harry has endured. The moment where sacrifice becomes inevitable and almost welcome. Throughout 8 films, Harry remains a person. Flawed, sometimes unlikable, frequently wrong, always struggling with the weight of expectation. He documents the cost of being thrust into circumstances beyond any person's capacity to handle and comes out on top. The final image of Harry as a grown man that birthed 10,000 theory videos shows him alive but fundamentally changed, carrying scars that will never fully heal. He's endured, and he survived. That's all. And that realistic portrayal of trauma and survival across a long-form narrative demonstrates that Radcliffe understood from the beginning that his job wasn't to make Harry likable or iconic. It was to make him real, to show how a person actually responds when everything is taken from them. It's a masterclass in how to play a character across a decade without ever repeating the same emotional register, without ever allowing the character to calcify into a single type. I really wish they would just keep this franchise in the past, but no, gotta milk that cash cow dry.
You've seen her, haven't you? She was there this morning in the fire. She's always there. You mustn't blame yourself.
The Woman in Black is a gothic horror film set in an isolated English village where a young solicitor named Arthur Kipps arrives to settle the affairs of a deceased estate. The narrative unfolds as Arthur attempts to catalog the contents of an abandoned mansion while the village's residents grow increasingly hostile and secretive. He gradually discovers that the estate is haunted by a vengeful spirit, the titular Woman in Black, whose presence has caused the death of many children in the village for generations. The film is more invested in sustained dread, in the slow realization that Arthur is trapped in a situation with no clear escape and catastrophic consequences for anyone around him. Radcliffe plays Arthur Kipps as a man whose initial competence gradually erodes into helplessness. Early in the film, Arthur presents himself as a professional, composed, methodical, determined to complete his task despite the village's warnings. Radcliffe communicates this through precise physicality and measured dialogue delivery. Arthur moves through the mansion with deliberate care, cataloging objects, maintaining emotional distance from the gothic atmosphere surrounding him. The performance suggests someone using professionalism as armor against fear. As the film progresses and Arthur begins encountering the Woman in Black, Radcliffe plays the character's deteriorating certainty. The armor cracks incrementally. Arthur becomes hyper-aware of sounds, movements, the particular quality of silence in the mansion. Arthur's movements become more reactive. His breathing becomes audible. His composure, which was always fragile, begins to visibly fracture. He plays him as someone attempting to maintain rational understanding of irrational events. When Arthur witnesses something genuinely inexplicable, Radcliffe plays his response as disbelief followed by creeping horror. The character is trying to explain supernatural events through logical frameworks. And that failure, the gradual acceptance that logic doesn't apply, is where the real terror lies in the performance. He's fighting something he can't defeat, and he knows it. The Woman in Black demonstrates that Radcliffe's range includes the capacity to carry a horror film through isolation and internal deterioration. His Arthur is a study in how psychological breakdown manifests through restraint, how terror can be communicated through what's not said as effectively as through what is. Honestly, I fucking hate horror films, since I was the type of kid who was mortified by something like Gravity Falls, but this is worth the watch. Moving on.
Show me your fucking map.
Stop!
No, there's nothing here because David's not here to write it for you.
It's complicated.
I love complicated.
Kill Your Darlings is a biographical drama centered on the early life of poet Allen Ginsberg at Columbia University in the 1940s. The film documents Ginsberg's discovery of his sexuality, his intellectual awakening through friendship with fellow students, and his involvement in the literary movement that would eventually become the Beat Generation. The narrative is structured around Ginsberg's romantic and intellectual relationship with Lucien Carr, a charismatic student who introduces him to new ideas and a more liberated way of living. The plot culminates in a murder and the aftermath of that violence, which becomes a turning point in Ginsberg's life and art. The film positions Ginsberg's artistic voice as emerging from lived experience, from genuine passion and genuine trauma. Radcliffe plays Allen Ginsberg as an intellectually voracious young man discovering both his mind and his sexuality simultaneously. Early in the film, Ginsberg is presented as somewhat awkward, brilliant but socially uncertain, trying to navigate a world where his intellect is appreciated, but his identity as a gay man is dangerous and hidden. Radcliffe communicates this through a particular kind of nervous energy. Ginsberg moves with enthusiasm but also caution, speaks with passionate intensity but also self-consciousness. When Ginsberg meets Lucien Carr, Radcliffe's performance undergoes a significant shift. The character finds permission to be more fully himself. Radcliffe plays Ginsberg's awakening with genuine enthusiasm. This is a person discovering that his way of thinking and feeling can be openly expressed and even celebrated. The performance captures the intoxication of that discovery. Ginsberg becomes bolder, more confident, more willing to voice ideas that would previously have been dangerous to speak aloud. What's particularly effective is how Radcliffe plays Ginsberg's intellectual development as inseparable from emotional development. When Ginsberg encounters new poetry, new ideas, new ways of thinking, Radcliffe doesn't play it as abstract intellectual engagement. He plays it as visceral and deeply felt. Ginsberg's passion is genuine. The character is experiencing genuine awakening across multiple dimensions simultaneously. By the film's final act, when Lucien commits murder and Ginsberg is forced to confront the consequences of his devotion to someone he didn't fully understand, Daniel plays a character experiencing disillusionment. The performance captures someone watching their idealized relationship shatter against reality. Kill Your Darlings demonstrates that he can carry a biographical drama by finding the emotional specificity within historical events. Dane DeHaan is pretty good in this movie too. Might have to do a video on him as well.
For you.
What? So that's it? There's nothing you can do for me?
I've got a rope in that shed over there. I could take you out to that tree where Marin died, and I could string you up.
Horns is a dark fantasy thriller centered on Ignatius Ig Parrish, a young man accused of murdering his girlfriend, Marin. After a night of heavy drinking and some other stuff, Ig wakes to discover he's growing literal horns protruding from his forehead. As the film progresses, Ig realizes that the horns grant him the ability to compel people to confess their darkest desires and secrets. The narrative becomes a revenge fantasy where Ig uses his newfound powers to identify Marin's actual killer, while simultaneously discovering that the horns are transforming him psychologically. The plot is structured around the collision between Ig's desire for revenge and his gradual awareness that the power corrupting him might be making him something monstrous. By the film's end, Ig must decide whether revenge is worth the cost of his humanity. Radcliffe plays Ignatius Parrish as a man initially defined by grief and injustice. Early scenes show Ig as devastated by Marin's death and furious at being blamed for it. He communicates this through withdrawal and anger. Ig is desperate, trapped by circumstance and public accusation. The performance captures someone whose life has been destroyed and who has no recourse, no way to prove his innocence, no escape from his situation. When Ig discovers the horns, the character experiences a kind of dark exhilaration. Finally, Ig has the power to change things. He can make people tell the truth. He can force the world to acknowledge his reality. He plays this initial period with almost gleeful intensity, intoxicated by his newfound ability to compel confession. The performance captures the addictive quality of power, the seduction of being able to impose your will on others. He's being fundamentally altered by that power, communicating this through subtle shifts in physicality and tone. Ig becomes less sympathetic, more willing to inflict pain, more comfortable with cruelty on those deserving of it. The performance captures someone becoming aware that they're being corrupted and being unable to stop it, being unwilling to stop it. The most effective aspect of his performance is how he makes Ig's motivation constantly ambiguous. Is Ig seeking justice or revenge? Is he using the horns to uncover truth or to satisfy his own desire for dominance? Perhaps it's a mix of all three, but Radcliffe never clarifies this. Ig is someone who doesn't fully understand his own motivations, operating on a mixture of genuine desire for justice and darker impulses he's not fully acknowledging. I mean, I'd be more likely to turn evil too if my parents named me Ignatius. Horns is essential to understanding Radcliffe's range because it demands he play a character simultaneously sympathetic and repellent, as both victim and perpetrator. The film requires Radcliffe to make us understand Ig's motivations while also recognizing that those motivations are becoming increasingly twisted. I had a great time watching it.
Flew to Dublin to break up me and Ben. Right? How long have you felt this way?
What If is a romantic comedy centered on Wallace, a withdrawn medical school dropout who meets Chantry, his friend's cousin who's in a long-term relationship, at a party. Despite her relationship status, they form an immediate connection and begin spending significant time together. The film is structured around the question posed by the title, not the alternate one. Honestly, I'm not even sure what F word they're talking about.
Fag.
What if two people could be friends while harboring romantic feelings? What if proximity and connection could exist without consummation? The narrative documents their friendship deepening while both are afraid to acknowledge the romantic tension underlying it. The plot moves through various complications, Chantry's relationship deteriorating, Wallace meeting other people, the constant negotiation of boundaries between friendship and romance, until circumstances force a reckoning about what they actually mean to each other. Daniel plays Wallace as a man who has retreated from life following a painful breakup. Early in the film, Wallace is pretty cynical and protective of his emotional vulnerability, and he communicates this through a particular kind of wary millennial humor. He uses comedy as deflection, as a way to maintain distance from genuine feeling. It captures someone who's learned that opening up leads to pain, so he's constructed barriers against that pain. When he meets Chantry, the performance shifts noticeably. The walls don't disappear, but they become permeable. Wallace begins allowing someone access to his interior life, displaying this gradual opening with genuine charm and vulnerability. The performance captures the seduction of connection, the way proximity to someone you're attracted to can gradually dismantle your defenses. Wallace is clearly in love with her, but he respects her relationship. The performance communicates this contradiction, desire coexisting with restraint, passion contained by principle. Radcliffe plays scenes where Wallace must watch her with someone else with genuine pain, not melodramatic devastation, but the ache of unresolved longing. I think that sentence made me throw up in my mouth a little bit. By the film's final act, when circumstances finally bring Wallace and Chantry together, he plays the resolution with earned emotion. This is the culmination of everything that's been building throughout the film. What If shows that Radcliffe's range includes the capacity to be charming and emotionally present without relying on irony or distance.
Hey, you two! You need to get the fuck out of here!
Hold on, what did you say?
I said get the fuck out of here, we're gonna kill you, you fucking spit!
What the fuck is your problem?
What's our problem? You come into our country, you fuck our women? Yeah, you got some big fucking balls, huh?
Put the fucking knife down and calm down.
Imperium is a thriller centered on Nate Foster, an idealistic FBI agent who volunteers for an undercover assignment infiltrating white supremacist and anti-government extremist groups. The narrative documents Nate's gradual integration into these communities, his need to adopt extremist beliefs convincingly enough to maintain his cover, and the mental toll of that integration. Radcliffe plays Nate as a man whose genuine commitment to justice makes him vulnerable to manipulation and moral compromise. Early in the film, Nate is earnest and idealistic. He volunteers for undercover work because he believes in protecting people from extremist violence. Radcliffe communicates this through focused intensity and clear moral conviction. Nate trusts the system, believing that infiltrating these groups will help prevent actual terrorism. As Nate begins infiltrating extremist communities, the performance becomes increasingly tense. The character must adopt beliefs he despises, participate in conversations that are morally repellent, and pretend to be someone fundamentally different from who he actually is. He communicates the strain through careful vocal control and understated physicality. The amount of effort required to maintain a false identity while being surrounded by genuine hate is palpable. He plays Nate's growing awareness that ideology itself can be seductive, even when you intellectually reject it. The longer Nate remains undercover, the more he's exposed to these worldviews, the more he begins to understand, without agreeing with, the appeal these movements hold for people. Nate's moral convictions remain intact. but his confidence in his own judgment becomes less absolute. He begins to question whether his idealism is sufficient to navigate this world. The most damaging moment comes when the investigation appears to reach a dead end. Nate has spent weeks embedded in these communities, built relationships, played a role so convincingly that it's beginning to feel real, and now he's being told the case is closing with nothing to show for it. When Conway finally confides in Nate about the genuine threat, Radcliffe plays the character with a particular kind of grim clarity. This is real. It always has been. Nate must now navigate an actual terrorist cell while maintaining his cover, knowing that any slip will result not just in mission failure, but in deaths. His idealism is being tested in the most concrete way possible, not through abstract moral questions, but through immediate life-or-death stakes. The final visit to Johnny, a teenager who's left the extremist movement, suggests that Nate's real victory isn't in stopping the bomb, it's in demonstrating that people can change, that ideology isn't necessarily permanent, that escape is possible if you're willing to try. Guns Akimbo is an action comedy centered on Miles Harris, a non-violent video game developer kidnapped by an underground organization called Schism. Schism forces Miles into their twisted entertainment platform, where people are live-stream fighting to the death. Miles is fitted with guns bolted directly to his hands. He literally cannot remove them or put them down. The narrative becomes a dark comedy about Miles being forced to participate in violence against his nature, to become a killer, despite having no combat training and no desire to hurt anyone. The plot documents Miles's desperate attempt to escape Schism, while simultaneously dealing with the fact that he's now weaponized, that his hands are permanently altered. What's fascinating about this film is how Radcliffe plays Miles's involuntary transformation as fundamentally different from how he approached Iggs and Horns. Where Igg became corrupted by power, he actively sought and wielded. Miles is forced into violence, he actively resists. Both characters are weaponized, but their psychological responses to that weaponization couldn't be more different. Igg became increasingly willing to use his power, while Miles becomes increasingly desperate to escape his. Radcliffe plays Miles as genuinely nonviolent. He's a video game developer, not a fighter. He's awkward and genuinely uncomfortable with confrontation. Early scenes communicate this through understated physicality and nervous energy. Miles's default response to threat is retreat or deflection through humor. When he's fitted with the guns, Radcliffe's performance shifts. The character experiences immediate horror at what's been done to him. The film's stylized action sequences, neon-soaked combat, exaggerated gunplay, cartoonish violence, actually serve Radcliffe's performance by creating distance from the brutality. The hyperkinetic visual style makes the violence feel more like a grotesque game, which mirrors Miles's own relationship to what's happening to him. He's being forced to participate in something designed as entertainment that treats his suffering as content. The stylization acknowledges the absurdity while he grounds the character in genuine distress. Radcliffe communicates Miles's resistance to violence coexisting with his physical capability to inflict it. Miles doesn't want to kill anyone, but he's forced to fight for survival. His vocal delivery remains reluctant and uncertain even as he's forced into brutal combat. The camera work reflects that disorientation, making the audience feel as untethered as the character. Guns Akimbo demonstrates that he understands the crucial difference between choosing darkness and having darkness imposed upon you, and how those two different circumstances require completely different emotional registers, even when the basic situation appears similar on the surface. I know most of you haven't seen this film, so go watch it. Now, or else. What connects Daniel Radcliffe's filmography is a fundamental unwillingness to play it safe. He had every opportunity to become a franchise actor, rest on the foundation that Harry Potter provided, and spend the rest of his career in comfortable genre films trading on recognition and nostalgia. You know who you are. Instead, he systematically chose material that demanded he develop new skills that pushed him into uncomfortable territory. He learned to carry horror through restraint. He learned to play historical figures with intellectual specificity. He learned to navigate dark fantasy and moral ambiguity. He learned romantic comedy. He learned physical comedy. Radcliffe brings genuine artistry to whatever he's doing, and that artistry comes from a place of genuine curiosity about what different characters and different stories demand from an actor. That curiosity hasn't diminished. If anything, it's only grown more pronounced. And that's why examining his work feels less like cataloging an actor's resume, and more like watching someone actively discover what they're capable of.